with this one client, not only did we help them as their tenant representative, we were able to provide them with a $100,000 term loan. They did a separate $100,000 SBA loan. They did almost a $78,000 line of credit that we got approved from them, and then a $36,000 equipment loan. And so this is all one client. CLBI is by far the best training platforms out there. So you really have to drill down as to, why you hesitant, right? It's an investment in you. When you look at the platform, it's worth all that CLBI offers, whether it's marketing, website design, entity formations, training, that broker toolbox that you offer. They have to really make an assessment as to what is it that works for them. But you got to make a decision. We had to do the same. Since I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger, the time is now. It's a perfect fit for our business, and you all are the experts in this space. So, trust the experts, trust the consultants, and your business will definitely flourish because of it.
So I'm online today with Joseph Harland, and we're going to be talking about everything that's going on over at Carte Capital. Thank you so much for jumping on this morning. Really excited to be able to talk with you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us.
I'd love to start off with the early story. So tell me, before you decided to become a commercial loan broker and join up with the Commercial Loan Broker Institute, what were you up to? What were you doing?
That's a great question. And it was a natural segue to get into the space because we have an existing commercial real estate brokerage practice. So we have clients buy, sell, and lease commercial real estate, specifically buyer representation and tenant representation. So we have clients that like multifamily or owner user for a small office, flex industrial, retail space, helping operators and business owners to launch or expand businesses. And so in doing so, I'm sure we'll get in more detail with it, but you need the capital to be able to do these transactions, right? To acquire the building. And I think for us, seeing other lenders and brokers get a piece of that pie and we not be in the mix or in control of that process kind of got the wheels turning. That's something we can do. That's a service that we can offer our own clients. So it's a service to our clients. It's also a revenue stream, for us. And in a nutshell, the idea was planted, over the years. It just took me some time to research a little bit more and to act on it. And that's the I, comes into play.
All right. So then what made you were doing your research and planning it all out. What made you decide to go with the Commercial Loan Broker Institute to support your launch?
I really like the program offerings. They were pretty in depth. Yeah, I was just looking for all of the facts. And even though I understood and know how to, start a transaction and get it to close, owning a practice, launching it, starting it, all of those factors, I wasn't an expert in or just didn't have the time to really devote to it. I really needed a partner. I really needed a consultant to say, hey, this is the path. This is the way to do this. And when you go onto the CLBI site and you see all of the program offerings, you see the video tutorials. That was big, having you come in and explain and talk about all of the facets of being a loan broker and what that looks like really made me comfortable with that. It was very clear. It was very transparent. I was able to research that, compare that to others based off of those videos, things just off of our own knowledge, right? I says, that's on point. I know that to be true. And I felt comfortable with it. The more I researched it, the more videos we saw, the more I saw that the offerings, I was like, I think this is the path for us.
It's wonderful to hear. And now you get to be on the other side of the camera. Now you're the experienced broker and you're able to share that knowledge with others and give back to the communities. That's wonderful. And thank you for giving back to our community in that way as a mentor. And what did you like about the process of working with CLBI?
I liked everything. Everything was really smooth from start to finish. And, you set the expectation, says, here's what we're going to do. And then we do it, right? We tweak it if we need to along the way. There's a post assessment if we need to make adjustments. And we did that too. And that was, again, a consultative approach. What would you like to do, right? What's your brand? Like you really dive into what's unique to us as opposed to anyone else. So there's a common thread, I guess, amongst all loan brokerage firms, but there's a uniqueness. Everyone has their own story, background, and we come from diverse backgrounds. That makes every loan brokerage unique. I have a business finance background. I have a real estate background. I have an asset management background. I have a credit analysis background. That's unique to me, what I bring to the firm and able to share with our clients and with our brokers. And then you encompass that with the CLBI training, and that's what makes it pop.
And that's expressing our philosophy perfectly, that it's all about success in the brokerage world is all about finding that unique niche, that place where you really excel because you can serve those clients so much better than everyone else. And that makes you stand out from the competition. And you've really embodied that by finding your sweet spot. So let's talk a bit about your deals, your pipeline. Tell me about a couple of your top deals, some fun memories, war stories. What did they look like? What was the total? What was a little bit of challenge of getting the funding done? What commission did you earn at the end to make it all worthwhile? Tell me some stories.
Lots of stories. Well, let me begin, Shane, that when we launched in November of 2023, so you may recall a week after we launched, I was really excited. The website went live. I was with a business chamber. They allowed us to pitch and share the launch. We were excited. We were ready to go. A week after that, after our launch, and I'm really digging my heels in, we had a catastrophic fire at an apartment community that we own. So we also are investors and we own property here in the Southeast, and a particular property that we own suffered a major fire. And that was very disruptive at the time. And it really took about 3 or 4 months for me really to get back after the launch to really give it the attention that it needed. So I was sidetracked while dealing with all of the elements, as you can imagine, with dealing with an apartment fire, displacement of residents, insurance claims, just all of that. That was a lot.
I remember that being a really big deal. I feel like it definitely made regional news. And I think I might have seen it on national news. It was a big story.
It was a big story. It's something you just can't plan and prepare for. That's just a call you just don't want to have, personally or professionally. But there it is. We were blessed that it wasn't a total loss, and we're in a rebuilding phase of that now. So fast forward, that was kind of a stumble for us. So rather than really getting off to earnest start in November, it was really more like March, almost a year ago, when things began to really, ramp up and the fire issues began to simmer down. And the intersection of commercial real estate and commercial loans is what excites me. And so a deal that comes to mind is a client that we help negotiate lease space for their business. It was a relocation. And at the same time, they also needed funding. So along the way in this conversation, what are your needs? Tell me about the build out of your space. And as we have these conversations, I says, well, I think I can help with that. So we can insert ourselves into that process. And so we're a good point of contact. We did a good job for them on the real estate side. This is, well, yeah, if you can help us, get funding for what we need for this relocation, let's do it. So with this one client, not only did we help them as their tenant representative, we were able to provide them with a $100,000 term loan. They did a separate $100,000 SBA loan. They did almost a $78,000 line of credit that we got approved from them, and then a $36,000 equipment loan. And so this is all one client, and it came over several months as they needed. So they kept coming back since we have an additional need. We have an additional need, and we were able to fund that. And deals, to answer your question, is typically that the 1% with lenders is what you make on those. And so that gave me a lot of reward to help. And that's the intersection I talk about between real estate and the capital.
That's wonderful. It shows the value of working with a broker for a client, because otherwise they would have had to go to, what was that, 5 different lenders, and they probably would have gone to the wrong ones to start. So they probably would have been more like 15 lenders, 20 lenders they would have had to converse with in order to find all of those solutions. But instead, they're already working with you, and that enables you to make their lives so much easier. And for a busy business owner, that's so critical. Time is money, and there's always so much to do. And by working with a broker, they get everything, all of the support they need to grow their business from the position of accessing capital. And it's all working just with one person that they trust, who they can come back year after year after year as their company goes, continue to have a partner in growth.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So tell me a bit about your total pipeline. What does your pipeline look like currently?
So part of what we do is in that consultative approach is counseling them and working also with their team to get this deal in the pipeline. So one is another medical provider that wants to purchase a large medical facility. So that's still the deal in the pipeline. And that would be a 15 to $20 million deal if we can, get it to the finish line. So excited about that.
What percentage would you guess are you focused on real estate transactions, whether that be acquisition or development or whatnot? And what percentage is over in the more working capital and equipment space?
Having a real estate component is probably the largest share. 80% of that. I'd say 20% is going to be something that's non-real estate related. Just last month, we closed a small line of credit for a coffee shop. They didn't need a line. We gave them, and they qualified for several options, and they decided at this time they want to go with a smaller. So it was between $5,000 and $10,000. It wasn't very large, but the satisfaction came is, being able to go sit in their shop with them. I visited the owner and I sat down and had a cup of coffee, and they were just so excited about their business. They're doing really well and there's room to grow. So maintain that relationship with them and being able to see their business like in action, is very rewarding. And to see that the capital that we were able to provide for them, went into their business was something very useful in terms of, equipment and, their daily operations.
I see that as a common thread between so many of the more successful brokerages, that they just have this love, this passion for helping real estate investors, helping small business owners, and they see the impact it makes. And it becomes long-term relationships where you help with a K line of credit, and then they're putting in a larger commercial kitchen and they need K for that. And then they're opening their second location. They decide to buy it. So they need 400K for that. And then they start to grow, and it's 3 more locations over the next 5 years. There's so many deals that come from that one initial situation where you just helped out someone in need and build up your community throughout the process.
Absolutely. We'd like to be a one-stop shop for all of their future commercial real estate and commercial loan needs across their business lifecycle.
So how do you go about making this all happen? What is kind of a day in the life of a broker for you?
Great question again. So our day kind of oscillates between the two. Usually we'll start out if there's planning the day before. So I'll end my day knowing what's on deck for the next morning. Depending upon where the deal is in the life cycle of that, something may take a priority over, something else. For example, if you got a closing this morning, well, I'm not taking any calls right now because time is dedicated to that. Or on the real estate side, maybe I need to meet with an inspector for a phase 1 study or an appraisal. And you work your day around these activities. So it can be very fluid. Again, sticking strictly to our calendar, being a stickler for time and respecting that, making an allotment for travel if I need to, meet a client on site, dedicating a certain amount of time. Some of this comes from the CLBI training too, right? How you allocate your time to cultivating what we call, right, centers of influence, mining LinkedIn, building those relationships. Some are reaching out to you. So, having calls and conversations with lenders, with clients, and those, on any given day don't look the same, but that can be, in a typical day. And appropriate amounts of time for each activity that's needed, business development, client calls, training, which is ongoing, which I love the fact that CLBI does that. We have a community and we have continued training, a mastermind, as you call it. So we can tap in to see what are the latest trends, who are the latest lenders, what are they lending on, what is their credit box, and that's value add to us. And then I can take that to our clients.
Absolutely wonderful. And you are in a unique place as a with all of your commercial real estate activities, right? So as a real estate broker, as a real estate investor as well, personally, that gives you a different perspective on what it means to work as a loan broker. And we're often having conversations with people who are real estate agents or brokers, who are real estate investors themselves, and are looking to explore becoming a broker. What would you say are some of your top tips unique to people who have that background for entering this industry? What are some of the hot takes that you really feel would help them accelerate their success?
Well, that's pretty broad as I think about it, because my background, although it's in finance, understanding underwriting, capital markets, and it's changing so much, right? We're still in a climate of uncertainty, and that's giving some people some pause. And then news breaks, and now there's a little euphoria. So we've seen that this week, right? As things kind of ebb and flow. So being aware of and understanding capital markets in real time, I think, is an attribute that someone new to the market needs to understand. Being an expert in perhaps a product type or an industry can be helpful. That's something that only they can really ascertain for themselves. For us, it was real estate, but perhaps you come from a manufacturing background, or perhaps you are CPA looking to expand your portfolio. That's value add you can add to your clients. So it really just depends on the industry and the person that's, considering getting into this business, to do a self-assessment to say, this is how we can add value and create an opportunity for ourselves and their clients.
How do you find that overlap works? So to what degree can you take a conversation where someone is coming to you for real estate needs and translate that into an exploration of their financing needs, and then potentially vice versa? How does that work in your world, that back and forth overlap?
Great. So underwriting for a commercial real estate client and a commercial loan are very similar. If a tenant is looking to lease space, that leasing broker wants to know that they qualify. You're looking at their financials. You're looking at their business track record. Are they a startup? Are they an existing practice? You already know, just trying to underwrite for the landlord or the space they're trying to lease, if it's a leasing scenario, what their credit is, what their financials look like. Are they a credit rated company? What's the size of the company? How long have they been in business? These same questions that we use to underwrite a loan is what landlords want to know. The viability of a business that's, to minimize risk, right? That they can strike a long-term deal, a 3, 5, 7-year or 10-year lease with a client. And so as we start that discussion, well, okay, what do you plan to use the space for? At some point, the conversation about capital is going to arise, right? So before becoming loan brokers, we would still have that same conversation, but then I would have to direct them to another expert to say, after you consult with them, come back with us, and then we can know what our pathway forward would be in the space that they're going to acquire. So now we just insert ourselves, and we are that consultant, to have that discussion. So they're really hand in hand. And of course, if you don't have the funding, you may not get the space. Landlords sometimes can offer some allowances to improve the space, but oftentimes it's going to come from either their own funding, or they will need capital and loans to make that happen. So it's very easy to have that conversation. So what are your needs? Who are you working with? Who's your banker? And we can offer that service to them.
It's very nice when you have an overlap like that, because you can go out and be building relationships, creating business for one side of the house. And in so doing, you're also creating business for the other side of the house, because you're having the same conversations in both ways, and you have clients with needs on both sides. So when you help someone in one way, you can easily help them in multiple ways.
Absolutely.
So tell me about your company. I really want to dig into all things a la carte. Tell me kind of what type of clients you serve and what's your edge, what really sets you apart, what distinguishes you as a great consultant and support for clients.
So as the name insinuates, a la carte, if you think of a menu of services that you provide, that you can select from, and you may not need everything that's on the menu, or you only need one thing from that menu. And so we want to offer a menu or suite of services for clients, whether it's the real estate or whether it's for capital. And what's unique about us is we understand that journey because we've walked it ourselves. So when you're looking to acquire an investment property, we've acquired investment property. We can talk about some pitfalls you may want to navigate around. We can empathize when you run into a snag or a road, bump in the road, and we says, well, we've encountered something similar. This is how we were able to overcome that obstacle. So we can really relate to the client, that end user, throughout this process. We speak the same language because we've done what they're trying to do. We've been in business before. We've sold businesses before. We've bought and owned investment property before. We understand that walk, and we can speak the same language. And that's something that they can relate to.
That's really powerful and sets you apart because you've walked a mile in their shoes already. You've walked 10 miles, 20 miles in their shoes. So you know where the pitfalls are and can help them avoid those. And you also know how to position them well to get lenders' interest.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
So tell me, what are you most proud of in regards to a la carte and how you work and how you help people?
I really enjoy speaking to people about what this process is. You hear the terms access to capital. What does that really mean? So from an educational standpoint, I get to go out in the community and have conversations, whether it's with economic developers, conferences, business chambers of commerce, and have discussions around what that looks like, what options are, how markets are shifting and changing, and educate communities, particularly these startups and new entrepreneurs, what they can encounter and how to be prepared, how to be capital ready. When is it time to do that in that process? So that's rewarding to be able to share and give back and educate the community about business, about loan brokers, about real estate, and having that conversation that really pushes the needle forward, so to speak. So that's something I really enjoy in connecting with the community. And I just see it as an outreach, less about business development, but as a way to build a relationship, educate others. And then those seeds that you sow will then, at some point, you reap the harvest later.
That's wonderful. Absolutely beautiful. And I see so much continuity within our community with that concept of giving, that you're really doing what you love, but you're also, in so doing, key part of it, helping others in their businesses and all of the ramifications that comes from that. You're helping them, you're helping their employees, you're helping their families, their employees' families. It's just this rippling impact that you have.
Indeed. Yeah, I enjoy that thoroughly.
And how would you say being a loan broker has impacted, or how has it changed your life?
From a business standpoint, well, be able to diversify and add another stream of income for our brokerage practice. And it has allowed me to grow outside of just the real estate space. So I can have conversations that include real estate, or I can separate them out. So I can have them together, or the conversation can just be about capital. And not everybody needs real estate to have a real estate need. So I can put that on the shelf and we can just talk about something along the lines that's specific to their industry, their business, that need. And so that's something that I really enjoy and can leverage. And the conversation is always about real estate. It's always about capital because those are the two that make the world go round.
Indeed. And what's your favorite thing about being a broker?
The relationships, building relationships with lenders, non-bank lenders, different types of lenders, right? You have lenders that specialize in equipment loans, some that only do factoring, lines of credit. They have specialties. So I like to hear and learn what their specialty is, and building that relationship. And, having those options, we have a breadth of options to offer these clients. So when an opportunity comes up, I can go to a source. I says, this is the best place for you. And having that relationship and being able to reach out and say, well, hey, Shane, I have this client. We just pick up the phone and have a conversation. Says, tell me a little bit more about it. And then we can nurture that and see if there's some synergies and opportunities from that point. So that's one of the things I probably enjoy the most is the relationships, not just with the lenders, but also with the business community.
It really is a people business, makes everything happen. And if somebody was considering becoming a commercial loan broker, they weren't sure if they should get started or not, what would you tell them?
Hey, well, make a decision. CLBI is by far the best training platforms out there. So you really have to drill down as to, why are you hesitant, right? It's an investment in you. When you look at the platform, it's worth all that CLBI offers, whether it's marketing, website design, entity formations, training, that broker toolbox that you offer. They have to really make an assessment as to what is it that works for them. But you got to make a decision. We had to do the same. Since I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger. The time is now. It's a perfect fit for our business. And you all are the experts in this space. So, trust the experts, trust the consultants, and your business will definitely flourish because of it. A red flag for me is when a business is non-communicative. You're not getting replies, or you call, they don't answer on the first ring, second ring. The website just doesn't have the information that you really need to make a decision. The offerings aren't there. I think the green light for me is the things I mentioned earlier is when I reached out, there was an immediate response, almost immediate from the first online inquiry. And there were subsequent follow-up conversations. Well, hey, let's schedule some time here. Or here's a video for you to share. There's no pressure. The information was there. Let me provide this for you. So I really did appreciate it. Well, I could watch it on my own time. I didn't feel pressured. So no one's pressuring, all these, gotchas and things of that nature. We had the videos. I was able to watch them over and over again where I got comfortable with it. I could speed it up, slow it down, and see the different elements of what it takes to launch a practice. And I felt comfortable with that. And when I looked at all of the offerings and when those start, that spoke to what we needed. That was the green light for me. And I didn't see other organizations offering that. Maybe you see a YouTube video or, something, but for what you get for the money, the value is what I think CLBI offered that others just can't and just don't at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And how about if somebody's just evaluating, not even our program, right? But they're just trying to decide, should I be a broker or should I not be a broker? Does this business model make sense for me? What advice would you give them? We talk with people who are exploring the industry as a whole and trying to make that decision, really wrap their heads, because you have this amazing insider perspective now, right? That you've lived in the belly of the beast. You know how it all works. You know the good, the bad, the ugly. And people don't know that until they know it because they've made the jump. Who would you say is a great fit for this industry, and would you say really is probably not going to be successful in this industry?
Well, I'm going to go back and lean on the training that I received at CLBI. And during one of our sessions, we had an exercise where we needed to understand our why. What's your why? And that's only something that anyone that's watching this or listening to this can really answer, right? I was able to drill down and just look on paper, says, okay, well, wait a minute, why am I doing this? What's the motivation? And moving, if I move forward, what does that look like? How does that impact, your life, right? Maybe I'm a little bit older. You may have someone that's a little younger, out of school a couple of years, that's looking for an opportunity. I mean, the whys can be just about anything you can imagine, right? And that's the decision maker.
I love that you're just taking it back to fundamentals. And so thank you so much for taking the time to jump on and have a conversation. I really appreciate you investing back in the community, Joseph, and just sharing all of your experiences. So thank you very, very much, my friend.
Oh, and thank you. Thank you, Shane. Thank you for CLBI for still backing us and being a resource for us whenever we need it, whenever we need to outreach and you for anything. CLBI is always there for us. And we can't thank you enough for that.